What is up, guys, and welcome, as Draymond Green just said, back to the Warriors Invitational. It's your boy Gautam with my boys Matt and Chuck, and our first ever guest on the Warriors Invitational Podcast, part of the rebrand that we did here at the formerly the Game Seas Clay. Our boy Eli, we got a Heats guru in action today. Gentlemen, welcome back. Obviously for us, it's kind of the same setup. We're talking dubs, we're talking hoops, everything under the sun that has to do with the Warriors. But as Matt kind of mentioned on our previous episode, our Game Seas Clay finale. This is it's been time. We've been kind of talking about this for a little bit, kind of rebranding what we want the direction of this podcast to be. A lot more just kind of embracing fan bases, other fans, other fan bases and teams around the association to kind of give not only us a better understanding of the teams we're up against and we're seeing on a weekly and nightly basis, but kind of gives us a chance to really get an insight into what other teams are kind of going through and understanding just kind of where the Warriors kind of fit in there and go in. But Matt, Chuck, welcome back, boys. Matt, take it away, man. I know you were giving us kind of the spiel of the Warriors Invitational going into it. Would love to kind of get your thoughts and takes about it before we kind of get the show on the road.
Yeah, again, guys, explained it a little bit on the last episode, but going forward, we're gonna have a guest in the show at least once a week for one kind of quote unquote game of the week. This week, we're treating that game as the Miami Heat Warriors game. It's gonna be on Thursday, the 28th of December. We've got our guy Eli on to kind of give us the lowdown as to what's happening in the Heat season this year. So it's cool to have experts on, people who know a team the best, right? That's why we listen to podcasts. We want to know about what's going on as best we can. And Eli today he's our Heat guy. So Eli, do you mind just telling us real quick a little bit about yourself, man, your relationship to the Heat and all that good stuff before we get started?
Yeah. Some of you may know me as Flawless like Eli or Eli The Economist on Twitter. I've been a Heat fan for like a while. It's a weird relationship with the Heat because it's almost entirely connected to being a young child and their jerseys resembling Spider-Man. But it's been a it's been a more than a decade long relationship, and I currently run a Heat podcast with my co-host 1110 called Culture Chatter. And yeah, that's really it when it comes to my general connection to the Heat. Extended relationship, and one that's been fruitful for the most part. Three
Yeah,
championships I've been born, 7 finals. Like, it's been pretty good. I mean, not as good as you guys, but well, just about. But
yeah, I mean, I was about to say, like, as a Heat fan, man, like that, you're probably one of the closest fan bases that have kind of experienced the same kind of highs and lows that we have. Like you said, the 7 finals. We've been to 6, 4 rings, three for you guys, and then just the whole LeBron dynasty era. Obviously, the '06 one with Shaq, but I feel like as a first kind of guess, it's kind of cool, kind of going into this matchup, just being two and Coach Spo, Kerr, obviously, with the Team USA stuff as well, like two kind of great teams, rosters. Obviously, you guys were in the finals last year, and again, I think Spo had a quote today where he was kind of talking about the similarities between the two teams, and like how you guys are both kind of been there, done that, but everybody's kind of trying to figure it out at the same point. So, I'm gonna just get it started, man. Like you kind of hit it off. So, coming off a finals appearance last year, just another one to add to what the Heat have kind of been through over the last decade and a half or so. You guys are sitting at 18 and 12. Similar to us, where there have been games I feel like you guys have won and also kind of blown. Just from the national TV games that I've seen. The Knicks game kind of comes to mind. That off the top of my head, but where are the Heat right now in their season, kind of relative to what you guys thought, kind of coming off another finals appearance, and just sitting at 18 and 12, through 30. What are you kind of feeling right now compared to what you were expecting going into it?
I think compared to expectations, the Heat are kind of where you would expect them to be, but contextually, they're even better, right? Like around a 48, 47 win pace is about what I expected. But if you tell me coming into the season, even though the schedule hasn't been the hardest, that the Heat would be 12th in net rating, they'd be 18 and 12, And they'd be by many accounts like the most injured team in the league. I think we've missed the most minutes um per game to injuries in the entire league so far. Obviously, Bam missed some time. Tyler missed, almost half the season. Jimmy has missed some time, especially lately. Um, Drew Smith out for the season. Like, there's just uh, a lot of injury related stuff going on, and the Heat have been able to manage the ship. And in many games, like you mentioned, whether it was the Knicks game on, I think it was on ESPN, or you date back earlier in the season, the game that we blew against the Nets, fourth quarters for the Heat have been like a big struggle, and part of that is you can't necessarily consistently close with your floor general in college just because of some of his defensive traits and his keenness to getting blown by.
He's
Um,
old, Eli.
yeah, you guys kind of experience a little bit of that when it comes to Chris Paul. There are a lot of parallels when it comes to these two teams. We're not necessarily as motion heavy as you guys, but a lot of guys that are really good shooters and thrive off of screening actions and uh, shooting well with a single side. Whether that's Duncan, who's if you told me Duncan Robinson would be playing better than ever coming into this year, I would have been happy, but I also would have looked at you a little weird. Like last 18 games, he has a 71 true shooting percentage. He's shooting like 50% from the 3-point line. Like this is, and he's doing a lot off the bounce. Like this is, you know, Duncan in a bubble year, but kind of evolved, right? With some of the stuff he's doing off the bounce, some of the finishing bag he's added, and some of the pick and roll craft, I believe. And in terms of, you know, Bam, just continuing to grow in terms of aggression, continue to grow in terms of his mid-range arsenal and what he can do there, and adding, varied footwork to his drives. It's still a work in progress when it comes to consistently finishing through contact and some of that contact aversion you want to see fade away. But he's getting better. Tyler's getting better. It just Hami is pretty big. Like Hami is a bigger hit than I expected.
Beast.
Like I was not a huge Hami Hakwes fan, and the touch, the size, the footwork is all been really great to watch, and he's been like a real key contributor for the Heat. At times, he's been their third, or there's games where he's the second or even best player on the floor. Like the Christmas game, you could make an argument like he was the best player on the floor, and he's not been like a big negative defensively like you would expect. So, I think the Heat are on track to win about the amount of games that you would expect. But when you contextualize for the fact that like a lot of guys have been hurt, um, Jimmy obviously came into the year out of rhythm because he didn't really get a preseason. And we're still where we are. I think it's definitely a positive. I think with Orlando losing, we're the 4th seed.
Yeah, I
So
think last I checked, I think you guys are fourth, if I'm not wrong. Let me pull it up right now. But yeah, you guys are right there, and I like how you kind of brought that up, man. Just in terms of like the similarities with the youth that you guys kind of seeing, the shooting, and expectation wise too. I mean, I feel like were you expecting? Because obviously last year, I don't want to sound kind of taking it for granted, a finals run for granted, but you guys were obviously the 8th seed and had to pull off a lot of upsets to get there, and just went up against a Denver team that was just Loki kind of flat out better and they just out executed you guys down the stretch. So was the expectation going into this season to like, hey, after seeing how it all came together last year, we can get back and get win a championship with kind of a similar squad, obviously adding in guys like Hyman and stuff, but is your expectation to kind of go through a week an Eastern Conference that as of right now, it's really just the Heat or the Celtics and the Bucks in my eyes that have really kind of stamped as the two front runners.
That's tough for Philly, man.
Yeah, I mean, I just not I'm just not gonna buy a Philly team until we can see it in action. But no, Eli. So was your expectation kind of another finals appearance and getting back, or where is that kind of
um,
like factored into what you thought going in?
I think in terms of where we can get in the Aus and where we land in the East, the expectation is not necessarily, oh, we're gonna get back to the finals, but I do like coming into the year. Um, after a week or so of coping about the Dame thing, I was at a point where I was like, I don't necessarily know if we have enough firepower to beat Boston or enough firepower to beat Milwaukee, but I do know that we can compete in those series. And like um being being up to par with them, being able to scheme against them, being able to, put out defensive structures that kind of slow down what they want to do, whether it's Milwaukee with like some of the Dame PNR stuff, or whether it's some of the just like the general advantage extension that Boston has once they do create an advantage with all the play extenders they have, whether it's White, whether it's Jaylen Brown, whether it's even Porzingis can attack and close out. They're really talented, but I still think, and up to this point, I still do think that we can go into a series with them and you can compete, and from there it you have a string of shooting luck, or you have a series where you shoot 3%. Literally, it's 3 percentage points is all it takes to like pull out an upset. And that's the crazy thing about the NBA, that like these people exaggerate just how big of a sample 7 games is, and most of the time it doesn't even go 7 games. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't necessarily expect to beat those teams, but the expectation, I think, for most Heat fans was just being up to par with them, to where if you get a string of luck, you can, pull out a W.
I think it's
Yeah, that's kind of the
go Chuck,
sorry,
go Chuck.
that's kind of the thing with the Heat too, is I feel like they have such a strength, and yeah, I feel like it gets talked about appropriately enough, like how good Spoelstra is.
Hey, Heat culture,
But
baby.
yeah, well, obviously the Heat culture, trimming those body fat percentages down, getting real greasy with it, like Pat. But like especially when you compare them to the other teams in the East, like Missoula, once the Boston has run their 5 out and they're jacking up threes, and once those shots stop falling, I feel like he kind of lacks in terms of counters. And the Bucks fired Mike Budenholzer because he couldn't make adjustments. And now you got Adrian Griffin coming in, who I think is, like, for the talent that the Bucks have, I think he's kind of holding them back. So then when you look at a guy like Spoelstra, like he's the ultimate elevator of a team that has flaws, that doesn't have the same kind of talent these other teams have, because he's constantly making adjustments. He's changing things up. Like, he notoriously running more zone than what anyone else does in the league. And I think he's just willing to make the adaptations necessary over those small game stretches. Like you said, 7 games is not a big sample. It's not always going 7 games. And Spoelstra's not going to be just changing things from a game to game basis, but quarter to quarter, possession to possession. So he's going to know what buttons to press. But I think that's kind of an underrated aspect of coaches, is being willing to press all the buttons and go, all right, this one doesn't work. We're going to move away from that. We're going to go to this. And we're just going to keep trying and trying different things and try to mix them up.
Which for Spo is like like you said, minute to minute process. For our guy Steve Kerr, that can be a month to month type thing. So
yeah, exactly.
It's fantastic.
No, it's awesome. Another question I had, Eli, too, like kind of a two-parter here. I think you kind of got into it with Jaime, but what are the Heat fans super excited about right now? Like, what gets them a lot of passion, gets them fired up on this team, whether it's a player or a certain lineup or a kind of adjustment that they've made, and also what's putting them in hell. Like, what's kind of making you roll your eyes, or like, punch the couch a little bit when you see this happen?
I think like everything Hami's been able to give us, especially of late. I think in this, I know the NBA.com ladder is only one person, but he's third there. I think the national consensus is that he's around there. So, especially with, I think Brandon Miller recently was injured. He might be missing a few games, but um, no one, especially not me, thought that he would be this good. He definitely wasn't a draft Twitter darling. I think basically everyone on draft Twitter gave the pick like an F. With the subcontext that like uh, the Heat have dark magic. Maybe things look look kind of crazy in a few months, and things have looked dark magic. Like, he is scoring from basically every level except for three. He's shooting well on threes, but he has like the highest shot quality in the league. I wouldn't take a lot of stock in it, but especially in the mid range, especially in the floater range off of like little hooks. He's finding ways to score at the rim, even despite his athletic limitations. And he really just looks like one of those players who's, polished enough and has enough touch to really be a contributor in this league for a really long time. Like, he looks like somebody that's going to make $150 million playing basketball, and that's all you can ask for, especially for the 18th overall pick. So Hami, everyone's excited for Hami. Some people are pushing it a little too far. You get that when you have a rookie exceed expectations, but yeah, 22-year-old really, 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 really impacting a decent team is not common. And I know that he's old. I know that he's older, but there is like a good hit rate with some of these older guys. Jalen Williams last year, Tari Eason with the Rockets, like some of these older guys, Tracy Jackson Davis with you guys. Some of these older guys are, a little undervalued and have certain skills that, in my opinion, immediately impact. And in Hami's case, if he can improve athletically, which, with our strength and core dev team, I think has happened for a lot of guys, then, you could begin in certain different talks. Maybe there's a world where Hami's a 19 point per game scorer, a 20 point per game scorer. And that's really something that Heat fans are locked in and passionate about. In terms of the negative, it's really everything that's not like the wing room and Bam, right? The lack of, a presence at the one is really frustrating. Cal is doing Cal things. He's been decent off the ball defensively. He's been pushing the pace at times offensively, but he legit takes like 6 shots a game, 5 shots a game, and those are like I'm feeling kind of uppity today. I'm feeling like taking shots, but like a 7-shot Cal game, I'll look up, I'll be like, damn, Cal's kind of aggressive today. And he's taking like 5 shots. So, and the on-ball defense is just really bad, especially when Tyler is coming back. You have to put out lineups where sometimes it's Tyler and Duncan, or Tyler and Cal, that is. And that's probably one of the worst on-ball duos in your backcourt in the entire league, among teams that are like serious. I'm not talking about like Detroit. So that's a really big concern. Can we, put out decent defensive lineups and also have anyone that can, play the floor general role, dictate pace, distribute touches? And the big man room outside of them is look kind of ugly, Orlando Robinson minutes haven't been great. Thomas Bryant minutes have been even worse, like legit disastrous. He's like very bad at the sport of basketball.
Go off. What happens? What's his deal?
He's just like, I don't think he overtly makes like mistakes. Like, he looks like confused out there. He just doesn't really have a value right now. Like, he's a good screener, but he's not a great roller because he kind of moves weird. A lot of his rolls in like middies. He's not a good extra passer at all. He has no short roll utility. And that's really, when you want to run offense the way we do, where there's like a lot of handoff action and he has to, quickly get into screening actions and make himself available on the rolls, and by extension, make himself available to make some of those short roll passes. He's really struggled at that. And then defensively, there's literally just nothing we can do. Like, we tried dropping, he didn't protect the rim well, he didn't rebound well. We tried, playing him at the level, his top foot got beat literally every single time. He didn't recover well. So it got to a point where it was like Kevin at the 5 is more viable. Like, Kevin Love at the 5 is more viable than putting Thomas Brown out there as our backup. And that's, kind of sad. Like, Kevin's almost as old as Cal, and he's definitely not a traditional 5. But he's been better on the boards. He's been better in drop coverage than Thomas Bryant. So yeah, it's tough to watch. It's genuinely tough to watch Thomas Bryant hoops. I'm not gonna lie.
No, we get it, man. I think our equivalent there this year, I can't think of anybody too rough, but my first thought is James Wiseman, first of all, from last year and a year and a half ago. I know where you're going, Chuck. But it's been tough to watch. Watching Wise last year and the year before was like, again, you throw
shit. Watching him this year on the Pistons, man.
Man, it just hurts. It hurts your heart, man. It's a lot of the same stuff. The guy he's got no sense of decision making at all in any position on the floor, defensively, offensively. Right now, probably Corey Joseph, guys. Would you agree? Corey Joseph is out there, man. It's rocks at the TV. It's tough. Um,
gets my blood pressure boiling like no other. Since Brad
he,
Wanamaker, really.
you know, the thing is, he's just the ultimate zero, right? He's not finding anybody in a position to score. He's not defending anybody incredibly well. But he's a
That sounds
classic.
like Drew Smith. God bless his heart. Like
Yeah.
he
Yeah, it
literally,
seems like a nice guy. Like
he's in.
like he's a
You know,
decent
his season
defender
ended.
too.
Say it again, Eli.
His season ended, so I don't want to go at him
Oh, I
aggressively.
hear you.
But he was literally like, it's like, I don't necessarily think you're doing anything bad, but you're also not an NBA player in any way. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, he turns it into a 4-on-5 without being. I don't. It's hard to explain, man, but I know exactly what you mean too. So Eli, you kind of hit on a few guys. I want to know though, who's somebody that if you're a Warriors fan, you're watching the game tomorrow on the Heat, we should be looking for and kind of being aware of that maybe most fans might not know about right now.
I think Charlie knows who I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say Jamal Cain is definitely somebody who can get like 10 plus minutes, especially in the matchup if Jimmy doesn't play. Who I think most people in you guys' community won't be super aware of, but in my opinion, is somebody who definitely should be getting more minutes for the Heat, and in the minutes that he does have, definitely shows some of the utility. He's a decent screen navigator. He has really long arms and just elite hands. He has some of the best hands in the league, in my opinion, and good reaction time. And he stays connected well. And on the offensive end, the shooting been on an upward trajectory for a while now. He's not a great shooter. You guys will probably leave him open in this hypothetical world, but um, he's shot decently, and he's just like an energizer bunny. Leaking out in transition, catching lobs, crazy on the boards. Um, he's really like somebody who I think can affect the games positively for the Heat in spot minutes when he's given opportunity. And he has, especially with Jimmy being out. He recently had a 14-point game. I thought he played solid defense in the Christmas game. So I think Jamal Cain is that guy on the Heat who, like, if he came up in a conversation, most Warriors fans would be like, who? But has like real utility.
Yeah, man. I
Love it,
mean,
man.
I feel like at least for me, Matt and Chuck, man. I feel like every game there's always one dude who will either hit like a crazy amount of threes or just we'll be watching and be like, dude, who the hell is this guy? So it sounds like Jamal Cain might be that guy tomorrow against us, and wouldn't be shocked. Eli, talk to me, man. How did the Heat beat the Warriors in this one? Just kind of and on the flip side, how do the Warriors beat the Heat going into tomorrow night? Obviously you guys are coming off 3-game winning streak right now. Great win on Christmas against obviously no Embiid, but no Jimmy on your side either. You guys got a dub on Christmas. We couldn't. But both teams kind of trending a little hot. Warriors are 5-1 in their last 6. Heat on a 3-game winning streak. So how do you kind of going into this one? How do you think you're gonna go and attack the Dubs to beat this one? And how would the Warriors come out tomorrow night in a kind of in a stretch that they're in kind of some gotta have it games? How do they win tomorrow night against your Heat?
So on our side, I think, especially in the CJD minutes, um, being able to, traditionally against the Warriors, we play like a higher drop. We want to take away the pull up, but we also, want to deter any like short roll from Draymond or any Warriors big and happening. So I think you see a good bit of that tomorrow with like Bam playing higher but still dropping back to the tier of the roll, and just like taking away those side actions for the Warriors, navigating screens will be important. I think these types of games against us the past few years, I felt like I don't know what Clay averages against us, but it always feels like he hits a big three in these games or he hits a few threes off like curls because we stick someone who's one of our weaker defensive players on them and they don't navigate screens well. So focusing on the details in terms of that, like adequate screen navigation, and scheming against them and pick and roll well, I think is really important. I don't think the Warriors have like really great drop beaters. They don't really run like Spain pick and roll or like veer action to directly punish you when you're in drop. But obviously, Steph's the ultimate drop beater because he's like the best pull up shooter ever by far. So being able to take that away and take away some of the rolling opportunities will be important. And just operating against some of those side actions will be super important on the defensive end. On the offensive end, I think it'll be important to like push the pace against this team in a way that we normally don't. They're not the greatest transition defense, especially without Draymond. So just pushing the pace when we have opportunities, which we will. We're kind of the type of team where we'll look to get a shot early. We'll look for outlets, and then if we don't get that, the rest of the time we'll spend like 20 seconds looking for the best shot. So and also, being intentional in hunting some of their mismatches, right? If Clay, or even if they have like someone like Kaminga, who's not the greatest screen navigator, on like Duncan, for example, getting him in DHOs or getting him off of curl screens and letting him work in space, I think will be super important. And I think it's the best way to optimize Bam against a matchup like this, where, if Looney's out there, that's kind of a speed advantage for Bam. That's kind of an opportunity for Bam to get to the midi that he loves. Or, this is the type of matchup that gets to the line. He's averaging a career high in free throw attempts, but Looney almost never jumps, right? I think he knows his limitations so well. Bam's whole grifter bag this entire year, I don't think it will necessarily work on Looney, even though I love to see it. So I think being more intentional, getting him, the ball 12 feet or 13 feet instead of 18 feet away from the basket will be super important in this matchup. So he can, spin, seal, dunk. I want to see that like 4 times. And on the Warriors side, in terms of beating us defensively, it really comes down to like making Bam, especially in the post, make quicker decisions. He's been like really good as a scorer, and his passing really shines in transition. But there's going to be times where he's like malfunctioning because he's trying to balance the scoring aggression that he's gained this year versus like being the connector type that he was a few years ago. And it really shines against doubles in the post. So getting the ball out of Bam's hands and being smart rotationally, um, and like forcing our guys to win off of closeouts consistently is a way to definitely slow down the Heat offense. And defensively, attacking some of those mismatches that I talked about, right? Whether it's Lowry or it's Tyler or it's Duncan, there are a lot of guys who he do a good job of hiding when it comes to, directly mismatch hunting, but you can't really hide them if it's like run around 80 ball screens all game, like run around 80 pin downs. I don't think that they're necessarily the best at that. So I think that that's definitely their pathway, attacking. That seems like such a cliche, like just attack the negatives, go at them all game. But it's really that simple, and also punishing the Heat for gapping, right? Like a lot of, like, if we're going to be in a position where the Warriors are going to try to get penetration from the floor, even though they don't normally do that, we're going to gap heavily, and like flaring behind that gap or screening behind that gap will be super important. And it's an easy way to get like good shots, especially around the wing. So countering what we want to do in terms of gapping, I think will be super important for them. And it's something that they do super well. So I think that's kind of why these matchups historically have been relatively close, especially last year, was just that there's similarities in play style, and there's like different ways for each team to attack each team's strength, so, and weaknesses. So.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Looney, especially in the way that Miami's going to play a really aggressive pick and roll coverage. Like they're going to be in that high drop. They're going to try to deny Steph the pull ups, and obviously a lot of that is baked around, like you said, the defensive shortcomings in the backcourt. If it's Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson trying to get around these screens, you got to play up aggressively. But also going back to what we said about the Warriors, they're slow to adjust on new decisions. And if you have like basically two going at the ball, I mean, Bam's not going to fully like hard hedge a screen, but if he's going up to the ball and Kevon Looney has space behind it, that's not space he's going to take advantage of. Maybe he can get on that short roll and kind of get there, but like Bam has good recovery speed. the Heat have a lot of wings that are really good in rotation and can block him off. The Warriors do have some potential to counter that with like Kuminga cutting out of the corners, and hopefully you can get some short roll reads and some lobs there.
I think Looney's hit that one time this year, all season, man.
Yeah, like maybe a couple times. He just really
Yeah.
hasn't been at that level. So I think that's like really a matchup that Miami's going to get to exploit is Kevon Looney on the offensive end of the floor, and just like, hey, try to funnel the ball to him as much as you can. And if he makes decisions and beats us, then, whatever, but he's probably not going to do that. And I love the thing you said to Eli about like, he's so smart about knowing who he is defensively. So if he's guarding up with Bam, he's not falling for those fakes. Like, he's getting vertical. He's just trying to deny the shot as much as he can. He doesn't do the whole foul baiting thing. That's why he's always been historically a pretty good Joel Embiid defender. Is, Embiid's trying to like throw a million pump fakes and getting a guy in the air, and Kevon's just standing there like
his hips ain't working like that, bro. He can't physically fall for him. So that's kind of an asset to that.
yeah, like I feel like a lot about being an NBA big is how's your first jump, but also how's your second jump. And Kevon doesn't even have a first jump. So he's just like, all right, I'm just gonna like be in your way as much as I can be. And I think that's gonna be a really interesting thing on the defensive end too, is, like Miami, I feel like they have the potential to kind of gas some of the Warriors guards and wings a little bit because, if you have Klay Thompson out there, he's going to see minutes on Duncan Robinson. He's going to see minutes on Jaime. And those are dudes who are flying off a lot of off-ball screens. They're running those quick dribble handoff actions. And that's tough for them to chase around. We've seen Klay's legs are kind of getting up to speed, but if he's going to be tasked with these tougher off-ball assignments, and then he's also going to have to make a bunch of shots at the other end because Miami's going to pretty aggressively try to take Steph off the ball, then that turns into a problem area for the Warriors. So I wonder if this is the kind of game where Steve wants to hit the Trace Jackson Davis button a little earlier, just to be like, hey, let's actually have a threat to go in behind the higher drop. Some guy who's not only going to be able to put the ball on the deck in the short roll, but legitimately finish a lob if there's real dribble penetration, if they're playing in more of a deeper drop against, Chris Paul, against Brandon Pajemski, whoever it may be. I think that maybe affords Golden State some opportunities. What else do you guys think are some ways Golden State can either win or lose this game on that end?
Yeah, I feel okay about this matchup for the most part, Chuck, but I think the last thing you said for me is it's kind of representative of the bigger picture for me, right? I think if Steve Kerr is slow to adjust against Bo, it's not gonna go well, right? If they stick with Looney for too long in this matchup, like you said, we're seeing teams trap Steph higher and higher up right now. And it's kind of for all the reasons you guys just described, right? So if they're gonna let Steph just get work near the half court line, right? It's just creating anything's gonna be really tough. So if he can get TJD in there, more one-handed lobs from the tick, I don't know. I'd be thrilled. But Steve Kerr being willing to go with athletic guys against a team that has a lot of movement shooters, and a lot of really physical players, I think it's going to be huge. But beyond that, no, I think you guys kind of hit it. Gautam.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. I think the first name that popped in my head was TJD in terms of just kind of having another a big man that's going to be a threat offensively, like Bam is for Miami, and I just think his athleticism defensively is just going to help out. But again, the Warriors kind of have that three big man kind of unit with Saric and TJD and Loon. So again, kind of on that same note of Kerr kind of finding those adjustments early. But I like what you said, Eli, in terms of how the Warriors can win by attacking those mismatches. We saw it a lot against Denver with Kuminga and Wiggins kind of in that post, especially with Steph and Klay having a pretty subpar shooting game. So, having guys like Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, Jaime even as a rookie to use that off ball kind of motion offense to generate those mismatches, get guys like Wiggins and Kuminga, those kind of easy baskets in the post to kind of open everything up inside out. So I personally think that Warriors again, a lot of this season, like you kind of said, Matt, this game is going to be representative of that. These last kind of 6 games that we've kind of started to figure stuff out, going 5-1, has been leaning on the young guys and kind of having that next dimension that TJD brings athletically, offensively, and then kind of just opening stuff up. So it's gonna be a fun matchup. Just like I think Eli said, they've always been Last year they played each other close. I think it was I think we split it last year, and the one at home, at least, I think the Warriors took it was a Steph barrage at the
Yeah, it
end.
was a Steph flurry at the
Yeah,
end. It
a
was
little curse
closer
game.
than the score
Yeah,
indicated, and then the second was
I think we
like
were up double digits and blew that one, if I'm not mistaken. It was like we did a
this.
lot
Yeah,
last
the
year.
second one ended on like a Jimmy dagger over you guys'
Yeah,
boy Clay.
yeah. And so I mean, it should be a fun one, man. It's gonna be awesome. But yeah, before we get out of here, again, thanks so much for joining us on the inaugural Warriors Invitational episode. Let's get some quick rapid fire predictions, man. Give us your score, your winner, however you want to do that. Highest scorer, who's gonna hit the most threes, and your non kind of superstar impact player of the game, who's gonna take it over the top for the team that wins it.
So it pains me to say it, but historically the Heat struggle, making that like literal cross country trip. I think the Warriors probably win this game just with that, coming off the big December. I was gonna say December the 25th, coming off the big Christmas game. Um, I do think that especially at night, the Heat will come off a little sluggish. And I think the Warriors will win it like 119 or 111 or something like that. Most threes, I got to give the Heat something. I'm gonna say Duncan. Um, highest score, I think it'll probably be Steph. And then in terms of non-star impact, I probably assume that it's like someone like Pods, where he can, eat against some of those, Kevin Love second units at times, against a deeper drop than he'll probably see if Bam was there, and obviously a better drop, a drop that deters certain passing angles. And he'll obviously see like weaker defenders in some of those second units, and even he'll probably start the game. Um, he won't see like our best option. Like we'll probably put Tyler on him or something. And he's if you watch him at Santa Clara, like he was somebody that could definitely like take advantage of some of those smaller guards. I wonder. I doubt it, but it would be cool to see him like post up Tyler or something. So I think Paz will definitely be like the most impactful non-star player in the game. On either side. So those are my predictions. I think Steph will be the leading scorer. Duncan will hit the most threes. You guys win 119 to 111.
Love it,
And
dude.
Pod.
Love it. Matt, give us the predictions, man. What we feeling?
Oh shit. Final score. Shit, man. I'll say 122, 113. You know what? No, the Dubs aren't winning by more than 3 if they win. I'm gonna say 122, 119, and why am I choosing the Warriors? I never fucking do that. They're not gonna win.
You rebranded Matt, dude.
No, that's not gonna happen, man. Listen, they're due for a second loss in a row. They haven't had one of those in a minute. So no, I gotta be honest with myself. I actually feel good about this one. Jimmy's questionable. That's giving me some pause. But he's a dog, man. I'm gonna go 122, 119 Warriors. I don't feel good about it, Eli. High scorer. If he plays, I'm going Jimmy buckets. Steph has been in like a mild slump of late, but TBD. If Jimmy's not playing, I'm going with 30. Steph Curry. Most threes. I like the Duncan Robinson pick. I'm sticking with that one. Non-star impact player of the game. I want to go with Bam Adebayo. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I know he's a star. I'm joking.
I almost got extremely upset. Lost my cool.
No, I want to go. You know what? Pods is a good pick, man. That's tough. I don't want to steal your fire. I'm going the rookie opposite Pods. I'm going Jaime Jaquez. Listen, just the kid's a smart player in the wings, man. And
They said non-star, right?
hey,
Yeah,
come on, relax. Relax.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going Jaime, man. Going Jaime, Southern California zone, Jaime Jaquez. I'm looking forward to seeing the kid play. I think he might be, funny enough, even if Jimmy doesn't play tomorrow, he might be the best wing in the game. Because I don't know what we're getting from Wiggs, Kuminga, or I don't know if Moody's playing. And so, with all that being said, I don't. The Warriors struggle with those kind of guys, and I can see Jaime having a good game tomorrow because he's really good. First of all, the Warriors personnel on the wings has not been great of late. So, I'm going Jaime Jaquez for mine. Chuckster?
Man, Eli gave me some second thoughts with the cross country trip. Like that's kind of brutal. You're coming in, you're playing a night game. You got to deal with the time shift. But I mean, Jimmy being questionable looks like he's on the side of coming back. I just the Looney minutes give me pause. Like I really think we're gonna lose the Looney minutes in a big way. Saric, I feel like they're gonna kind of be indifferent on, like just the fact that a big is looking to mostly pick and pop or pick and fade is not gonna change the way they play their coverages a whole lot. So those are kind of a neutral to me. I think the TJD minutes could be good, but I don't know, like you said too, like Steph's kind of slumping a little bit. I'm going 117, 111 Miami. I feel like they pull it out just off the back of Jimmy Butler.
He's
being
pandering,
down.
Eli. He's pandering.
Yeah, this is not the Chuck I'm used to.
Hey, look, we have an established formula. Matt's the doomer. Gotham's always the optimist. I know what he's predicting. I always fall somewhere in the middle. Miami always scares me. I feel like it's going to be a big night for Jimmy. I definitely got him as the leading scorer of the game. Let's see, most threes. The one thing I had to look into the stats too, like you said, Clay's kind of always on you guys' heads when you play. Last four times he's played you guys, these are all like the post-injury games when he's been coming back. 21, 23, 19, and 19 shots. Like, well, for whatever reason, he's just getting them up against Miami. So I think he comes away with most threes. He's also been 42% on 10 attempts a game for his last 10 games. So he's really on a heater. Eli, I know you were on the wash train trying to mess with me earlier in the year. My boy's still back. He's not going anywhere. He's still hitting those threes. So I think he's gonna have a good one there. Non-star impact player of the game. Pods is a great shout. Like I think Pods is gonna really be doing something there. Man, every time I watch him, I love what Haywood Highsmith does. He always brings the
Did I
defense.
not mention Hayward? Oh my god, I feel so dirty.
Dude, I had when you said I forgot your Jamal Cain agenda, but I threw up the H when you were talking about the players the Warriors fans should know about. I love Haywood. Like he brings a lot of good activity, not only defensively, but he's a good cutter. He can hit some shots. I feel like he just fits the system really well. And Gautam, you were saying this whole Warriors season has just been like, who's that guy? Oh, he hit 5 threes against us, and he had like 15 points and 9 rebounds, and that really crushed us. So I think Haywood's going to be that non-star impact player of the game.
Hey man,
Take us home, Gotham.
as you kind of can predict, Eli, Chuck gave you a good rundown of how it goes down. I am obviously predicting a Warriors win. I think the spread's 2.5, so I think it's going to be closer to that. I'm going to go 117, 112, Golden State. High scorer. I think it's gonna be Steph Curry. We need it to be Steph Curry for this to be a dub. As these guys kind of said, he's kind of out of the coming off a cold game against Denver. A few rough ones, but bounced back really big in that Celtics win. And so against another playoff caliber team, I think that Steph comes back and has a good one. I'm gonna go with Steph with the most threes made. I think to just bets wise, I think that if he's gonna be my leading scorer. I'm gonna put him as the most threes in the game, and then my non-star impact player of the game. I think I'm gonna keep it as a guy that's kind of been in the headlines, at least for Warriors fans, the last couple of days. Jonathan Kuminga, kid is A, just wants more minutes, but I think that for this game, especially with some of these mismatches with Hero and Robinson and guys that I think that the Warriors can take advantage of with Kuminga in the post. His athleticism is something that I think that you can use even against a guy like Bam, just kind of defensively. Just a guy that in the starting lineup now that I think is going to be super impactful, and I think is going to be our guy to lean on in some of these minutes, especially with somebody like Loon or someone like that that's out there that can do that. But yeah, man, Warriors win, get back on the dub trail after dropping the Christmas game against Denver. But before we get out of here, man, Eli, I appreciate you joining us. Wanted to give you the floor, bro. Anything that you got coming in the works, shout out. Some of the stuff you're working on. I know you mentioned your Heat podcast and all the other stuff, man. So take this time to kind of throw yourself a lob and shout yourself out, man.
For the most part, that's really it. Just if you can support Culture Chatter, I know it's really hard to keep up with a team that's, not yours, but I think we do a decent job of covering the Heat. I think we do a decent job of just like presenting information about the players, and informing them on, some combination of stats, film, and just like homerism, like being a fan. I think that's what these type of pods are for. Like, it's really important to remember that you can pay attention really intensively. You can know actions. You can know, your team's net rating. But at the end of the day, like, you're a fan, and it's fun to be a fan. So, um, so at Culture Chatter is the at name is the name of the podcast on Twitter,
Sick.
and
Like
at Paul is like Eli. If you want to give me a follow, um, hoops and stuff is in the bio. That's really the best way to describe it. I can't really tell you what I talk about on Twitter other than just basketball and whatever comes up. So those are the two things for the most part.
Hell yeah, man.
I can vouch for it. I can vouch for it on Eli. You're going to be getting Heat stuff. You're going to be getting major Cody Williams draft agenda. You're going to be getting all the hoops you can get on there.
Hey man, I love it. Eli, sounds like you're one of us, man. Just fans having fun with it and putting out content that we think is good. And appreciate you hopping on, man. You're always gonna be a special guest for us. First one on the Warriors Invitational. And likewise, man, we'll link Eli stuff when we post the episode out. And yeah, guys, appreciate you guys for all the engagement, viewership, whatever it is, man. This is the first episode for a new chapter in our podcast history era, whatever you want to call it. Kind of like the Warriors when they switched from the We Believe logo to the city one that we have now, and like whatever iterations those have. But guys, Chuck, Matt, anything you guys got coming in the woodworks to shout out before our next one?
Yeah, well, on the general basketball front, the tape has finally been ground down. The headliners have been put together. I should have a article on Goga Bitadze coming out, hopefully this weekend. Continuing my series on guys finding a role in the league, and that guy has really found something for one hell of an Orlando team. It's a fun one to dig into if you like super physical guys who want to rebound everything and have no touch around the basket. That's my bag right there.
Love it. I'm still out of the writing game, guys. I'm not back in yet. I don't know when I will be, but sometime this season, maybe not. Who knows? But no, keep following. Appreciate it. And it's been a nice run of the Game 6 Clay Pod, and I'm excited for all that's to come with the Warriors Invitational. And Eli, you're the man. Thanks for coming out, dude. Gautam.
Yes, sir. Hey, man, as everybody said, bro, appreciate y'all checking us out, and we will see you on the next episode of the Warriors Invitational. Peace.